I have been making these European-styled marionettes since the late 80s, early 90s. It's just something that kind of struck me and it became an obsession. More recently, I was given a grant by the city of Clarksdale to spend a month in Clarksdale building these marionettes. And what I've done is I've created a cast that depicts the relationship of Charlie Patton. I call him the grandfather of the Delta Blues. Depicts Charlie Patton's relationship with his daughter, Rosetta. And so I've built several different versions of Rosetta. I've built the little tiny Rosetta in the yellow dress. I built the teenage Rosetta in the velvet dress, which is about the time Charlie passed. And I've also included a pimp, a whore, Bertha Lee, his last wife, Son Sims, the violinist that accompanied him on all of his recordings. I created a cabaret scene. I know he visited New York City because he recorded there. So I also envisioned what his trip to New York might have encompassed. So he goes into a cabaret, like a speakeasy. Built the speakeasy. Got a few extra speakeasy performers. And these will be incorporated in a film called Postcards to Rosetta that I'll be putting out. I'll be releasing here, probably premiere at the Clarksdale Film Festival in January.
And you knew Rosetta, didn't you?
Yes. So I'm actually with this, I'm telling a personal story that only I really know about that personal connection. When I found out Rosetta, who was my Aunt Tony Carroll's nanny, they called her a nanny, like the movie The Help. If anybody's ever seen that, Rosetta was the help in my Aunt Tony Carroll's house. Her husband was a cotton farmer, very wealthy. So I grew up with Rosetta. And I found out in my 30s that she was Charlie Patton's daughter all along. Nobody knew. Of course, nobody would care at that time, except me, basically around that, but people had started to learn about Charlie Patton and folk revival and the blues revival and stuff. His name was mentioned and researched. John Fahey and all them researched him. So he was quite well known all over the world, but in Duncan, where she lived, they couldn't give a shit. This is little Delta town. She lived on the black side of town, and maybe 400 people in the town. Tony Carroll and Uncle Billy lived in the white side of town in the big plantation house. I had been in touch and loved Rosetta and considered her family all those years. When I went to visit Uncle Tony and Uncle Billy, I would then drive over to the other side of tracks and go visit Aunt Rosetta. That's just the way it was for me. And then to come to find out she is Charlie Patton's daughter, who I was already researching, I was already fascinated with, I was already trying to learn his guitar patterns and figure out what he was saying and put it into context. This was a mind blower to me that I was this far from Charlie Patton. That's actually what emboldened me to go ahead and leap into the blues music action like I did. I don't think I would have ever done it on my own, but she inspired me to do it, and I did it. And that led to playing with Buddy Guy and everything else. So it was really because of her that I got into the blues, because she told me I should do it. And so these puppets are just a dream come true. I created them all in about a month. The sets aren't here, but when you see the film, you'll see them in context. I got a juke joint scene like at an old lumber camp down in the Delta. It's very sleazy. And a couple of different scenes in the Delta that are pretty accurately depicted. The sets are really nice. So they blend right into their setting, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, thanks, man. So it's my homage and my thank you to Rosetta.